Hi everyone, welcome to Morning Cup. So this is my first time going live on here and I'm so excited because I have a very special guest with me and she'll be popping on very soon. But before we get into that, we're going to focus on today, gaslighting to greenlighting. I had recently heard of greenlighting, so I really wanted to talk about it. But it's really just about gaslighting and how we do that in relationships. How do we avoid it and what it is exactly? So before we get into that, let's get into our quote for the week. Can everybody hear me? Just making sure before we get into the quote.
It's okay.
Okay.
Just say 1 second.
Just 1 second, making sure everything's good to go.
I don't see you anymore.
Well,
Can anybody see me?
can anyone see me? Hear me?
Oh,
Going-
yes, yeah, you're good.
Okay, we're good. So we'll continue. So the quote for this week. So, do you wish to take control of your life? Begin by focusing on steering the storm rather than where the lightning strikes. And that's by Gary Hopkins. And I really like this quote because it really goes back to just understanding when we have something happening in our lives, how do we act? What is that next step? What does that look like for us versus feeling like we're just reacting to everything? It's being prepared for the storm, essentially. So that being said, before we get into what gaslighting is, I am bringing on, let's get this started. Hold on. Mariel, hi, welcome.
Hi, thank you for teleporting me in. Happy to be here.
Anytime. So I wanted to bring you on in particular because it really was with gaslighting, not just in our relationships, but what that looks like in the real world and with our family, friends, coworkers, business partners, but also in the spiritual world. So thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course. So with that being said, what is gaslighting? Well, gaslighting is manipulated by someone, psychological means, into questioning their own sanity. So it creates low self-esteem and cognitive dissonance. And gaslighting comes from the 1938 play and the 1944 film Gaslight. And what that's all about and where the term came from was this husband manipulated his wife, thinking that she had a mental illness by dimming all the lights in the house and shaking them, and she felt like she was hallucinating. So that's where the term came from. I thought that was so interesting. I didn't really know where it came from, but that's what gaslighting is in general. But Mariel, what is gaslighting? What does it mean in the spiritual world?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for sharing that information. I had no idea that there was a movie and where it came from. So that's very informative and that makes total sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, so spiritual gaslighting is just like regular gaslighting, except, we add the spirituality element to it. So it's where someone uses spirituality to make you think that you're wrong. And it makes you question, your inner guidance system, your intuition, and just, uses that against you.
Absolutely. Yeah, no. And I'm so glad that you are talking about that too, because I think it just shows what it can look like in different capacities.
Exactly.
So some of the ways that somebody will be maybe gaslighting someone is countering. So questioning someone's memories. So an example of that might be, are you sure? You have a terrible memory, just kind of being condescending in a way. You never remember things accurately. Withholding is the other aspect or second one, but it's refusing to engage in conversation. So you're withholding information. So you're acting as if they don't understand. So an example of this might be, you're really confusing me. I don't know what you're talking about. So kind of just really negating what they said. And then when it comes to a little bit more of different ways that can be happening are trivializing. So person disregards the other person's feelings or belittles them. So they're saying that they're overreacting or too sensitive when the feelings are absolutely valid. And the next one is denial. So pretending how an event occurred or forgets something, denying having done or said something. So Mariel, do any of these resonate with in the spiritual world? Are you like resonating with them?
Yeah, I mean, it's very similar in the spiritual world. Like you're saying, it's basically just trying to convince you that you're wrong, except with the spirituality of it, it's using spirit against you. So it's like just telling someone, oh, like your intuition is wrong, what you're feeling is wrong. Like instead of, if you just say, oh, well, I think that my intuition is telling me this, it's when someone would tell you, oh, you're just being paranoid, or you're being anxious, or like you always think that, and just turning it around on you and basically putting the blame on you. So that's another, that's just one way, or some of the ways that, you can use spiritual gaslighting against someone.
Yeah, absolutely. And then some of the other ways too are diverting. So it changes the focus of discussion and the credibility of the other person that's being questioned. So that's diverting. And stereotyping may intentionally be using negative stereotypes of the person's race, sexuality, nationality, ethnicity, gender, age, or to manipulate them as well. So do any of those resonate for you, Mariel?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just basically, putting the blame off of that person and not taking accountability for their own actions, and saying that, spirit is doing this to you, or spirit wanted it to be this way, or spirit is using me to create this drama for you, or whatever it is. It's just when you're not taking the responsibility for your actions.
Absolutely. And that, like, I'm curious, can you give an example of something you've seen maybe through these examples I just gave, but like maybe in the spiritual world of what's happened? An example.
Yeah, I mean, something common that I've seen before is like, let's say that, your friend hooks up with your boyfriend or something, just going a little extreme here. And when you go to confront them about it and say, like, why did you do this? Like, this hurt me, all that stuff. If they say to you, oh, well, spirit had me do that because there was this lesson you had to learn, or spirit had me do this because, obviously that person wasn't a good partner anyway. All of those things that I'm saying, it's not me taking responsibility for it. And it's not me owning up to my actions. You're just putting all the blame on spirit and, basically just acting like it was not my fault, or, the person's fault, and that they had nothing to do with it. And so that's just one of the ways, for spiritual gaslighting can be played out.
Yeah, no, and it's almost like narcissistic personality
Definitely.
type. I know somebody had said that too. It absolutely is. And it's not taking accountability. That's what I hear too. It's like blaming somebody else for your actions. And that's where like the comment about like feelings, we need to validate our own feelings first and foremost, because not everyone's going to do that. And we have to do that. We have to have that self-belief. So I kind of want to go a little bit more into the signs of gaslighting. So with the signs of gaslighting, that's difficulty making simple decisions. You're confused, second guessing yourself. You become withdrawn or limiting social interactions, feeling incompetent, hopeless, worthless, lacking joy. You're just questioning if you're being overly sensitive. That can happen a lot of the time. And then also constantly apologizing, defending, making excuses, lying about somebody else's behavior to justify it. And then you can feel lonely or powerless as well. So that's the biggest thing too. I think there's all the different types of signs. Do you have any signs that you can see like in the spiritual world? Are any of them the same, different?
Yeah, similar to what you said. I mean, you start to second guess your intuition, and your intuition is the most important thing. Trust your gut. You're never going to steer yourself wrong. And so spiritual gaslighting will start to make you, if you ever are in a position where someone is telling you that your intuition is wrong, you don't know what you're talking about, like really listen to your gut. Because, like your heart knows what's going on. And, if you feel something in your body, you really need to focus on that. And it doesn't matter what anyone is saying. And another thing too, is like, if you have a confrontation with someone, or you're, just want to talk about the problem with someone, like the second they just start saying they're putting it away from themselves. And that is like the perfect red flag indicator that, ding, 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 you're about to be gaslit.
There you go. You heard it here first.
Yes.
And then we did have a comment. Is there a way?
Where'd you go?
Hold that thought. Technical
Okay.
difficulties. Dog in the house. Getting a
She's
little
just
scared.
teleporting out of here. I would answer the question, but I can't see it. So I would try to help. But yeah, if you guys have any questions about the spiritual aspect of it too, let her know in the comments.
Yes, no, definitely. But I will state the question why we fix our technology real quick. But
Okay.
is there a way that someone could essentially gaslight themselves in a situation with their own second guessing? I don't know if that makes any sense, but yeah, we kind of just touched on that too, with just trusting your intuition, understanding what's going on for you. But I think at the end of the day too, it's really learning to value yourself, understanding what's going on for you and your feelings in order to really be able to move forward and not allow somebody to take over, or their behaviors to take over what you're feeling or what you're thinking, or thinking you're crazy or insane when that's not the case, and just trusting yourself too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
How's it going over there?
Well, we're working on it. But why we do that, we're going to go to the next slide, which is if you're experiencing gaslighting, how do you stop it? Well, these are just a few things you can do. But the first thing is increasing awareness. Oh, we're almost there. Teleporting back. Oh, perfect.
Welcome back.
Thank you. It was a fun time. You never know what can happen live.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm getting shorter by the minute. I swear, I'm 6 feet in my head. But enough about that. We're good. We're back. Oh, I gotta just laugh at it. But the first thing is increasing your awareness. So being aware that you're being gaslighted in the first place. I know. You gotta just laugh. This is my life. This is why I pre-record videos sometimes. Because of my dog. He takes off. He gets scared. So, now that I gathered myself without my laughing attack. But increasing your awareness. So if you don't know you're being gaslighted, how can you fix it or change it or start to be aware? So it's increasing it, understanding the signs, and just anything that we already went over, just really starting to do your own research too. This is just a limited amount of information. But limit your time with those individuals gaslighting you. If it's people in your business, start checking yourself, check your circle, who is impacting you. And then also confirm that it's your own reality, because a lot of times people are going to be able to misconstrue your reality of what's going on when that is not the reality. You have a perception, they have a perception, but just trust yourself first and foremost, especially if you're doing all that second guessing and really getting in your head. That's a great way to really take a minute and write down the facts. Mariel, do you have anything else you would like to add to that, like of how we can stop?
Just really trust yourself, like don't self-abandon and listen to your intuition. Like if you meet someone and you just have a bad feeling about it, or they say something, like even if you have known them for a while, but something just doesn't sit with you and you think, if your initial reaction is like, okay, I think they're lying, or I think this doesn't make sense, then just know that that's right. Like don't second guess yourself. Just know that that is what it is. Like so many times we just create more drama for ourselves because we second guess, which is natural. We all do it. I've done it a million times, but this is just my reminder to you to just like, please trust yourself and trust whatever feeling comes up for you.
Absolutely. Yes. And thank you for sharing that, because I do think too, like when we look at it, if we are constantly in our own head or ruminating on the thoughts, like going over and over and over again of like what we did wrong or thinking that we did something wrong when in reality we did not. So focus on the facts. And so I wanted to get into what greenlighting is, because I know when I was talking to Mariel about this, she's like, oh, this is cool. But it's a form of profound compassion and radical acceptance for one's inner experience or the experience of another person. So it's really about that healing factor and having that self-love that we talk about a lot, and just understanding ourselves, setting boundaries. That's part of compassion for ourselves too. and understanding our experiences are going to be different, but it's how we move forward. It's how we focus in on everything that we are doing or experiencing in our relationships, our business partnerships, and just our relationship with ourselves. But Mariel, so I know when I told you about this term and we were talking about it, I would love to hear your take on it as well.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't heard of it until today, but it sounds like it's when you actually follow your intuition and listen to your guidance, you know, from your higher self or from spirit or your guides or whatever it is that you are connected to. And, you know, you're just going for it.
Yes, exactly. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining today. If you liked the live, me teleporting Marielle in, the dog fly, and ruining the technology.
It is Mercury retrograde, by the way, which means communication and all of this stuff will be messed up for a little bit. So we're right on time.
Perfect. That's what I love to hear. You know, no better time than now.
Exactly.
But if you want to see more lives and more people teleported in, comment below, let us know. But thank you again, Marielle, for joining and lending your expertise of the spiritual world about gaslighting.
Of course. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for joining, and we'll see you on the next video.